any possibility that you would go back in the ring and fight someone like a Tank Davis?
If you want, and if he come up to 147, then we can fight.
He can't meet you at 140?
145.
I think fighting somebody like Pacquiao it give me hope for sure. It doesn't matter who I fight. It doesn't matter. As long as I put on a great performance.
He's the knockout artist of this era, short, solid, and silent until he detonates. Gervonta Tank Davis isn't one for words, instead, he speaks with his fists. But leading up to his next bout, an unusual rumor started circulating, not about his opponent, or his weight, but about who might be training alongside him. Manny Pacquiao. Yes, that Manny. The 8th Division whirlwind, the Southpaw Cyclone who danced circles around De La Hoya, punished Cotto, and floored Thurman in round 1 like it was personal. Could this be true? Was the man once hailed as boxing's most electrifying force now coaching the sport's most feared finisher? There's no official confirmation, no verified image, and no scheduled press event, just whispers, fan-made edits, and perhaps some wishful thinking. Yet, sometimes a whisper hits harder than a headline. In a sport built on adrenaline and anticipation, the mere idea of Tank and Pacquiao in the same training camp caught the internet ablaze. Not because anyone expected it, but because it added up. What knowledge could Gervonta Davis gain from Pacquiao? What could the veteran legend offer a champion already celebrated? And what might it mean for both of their legacies if their journeys intersected before the next high-stakes bout?
It's always a little better than I thought.
Oh, down again. And he might be out this time. That's it. Ricky had
2 southpaw monsters, one rising, one eternal. And even if they never touched gloves behind closed doors,
This isn't idle chatter. It's the kind of question boxing fans can't get out of their heads. 2 powerful southpaws, one on the rise, one a timeless icon. And even if they never shared a ring behind closed doors, the thought alone might be transformative. Like all boxing rumors, it started small, unconfirmed, just plausible enough to catch fire. A grainy picture, a misunderstood quote, a viral tweet that read, Gervonta spotted near wild card. Pacquiao might be helping with footwork. No source, no real proof, just enough smoke for fans to search for flames. Then came the headlines, YouTube titles screaming Pacquiao training Tank Davis. Instagram mashups of their knockouts side by side. TikToks placing them in the same ring, with music to make it feel real. Within 2 days, the sport was buzzing. What made the story so believable wasn't the footage, it was the logic. Manny's back in fighting shape. The wild card gym is still humming. Davis has previously trained in LA. And with Mayweather now out of the picture, fans began linking dots that didn't quite exist. But here's where it deepens, the rumor didn't have to be true to feel right. It tugged on a shared fantasy where old-school brilliance meets modern-day force. Where boxing's most relentless pressure fighter passes wisdom to its most surgical finisher. In a sport starving for legacy, the notion clicked. Fans didn't just believe it, they wanted it. It felt like a torch being passed, not under the bright lights of the ring, but in the silence of a gym. Quiet. Powerful.
Manny Pacquiao. Oh, down goes Thurman! And let me tell you, that was just a quick punch.
Well, we've talked about his maturity. That he seems kind of awkward. In this fight, he's not looking.
No statements came from Team Pacquiao. No denials from Davis's camp either. That silence? It became fuel. Boxing thrives in that gap between myth and truth. Why crush a captivating tale with cold facts when the mystery sells better? The rumor lived in that sacred space between belief and desire. In boxing, that's where legends take shape. Where eras collide. And for a few days, fans felt they were witnessing something historic, not in an arena, but in a dim gym where hands wrapped in gauze speak louder than any microphone. Even if it never occurred, it felt possible. So let's pause reality for a second. Imagine it happened. Imagine Gervonta Davis, all power and poise, walks into wildcard, sees Manny suited up, and says, "Let's go." What follows isn't just a workout, it's a collision of eras. Speed versus precision. Youth and experience. Instinct and chess moves. Because Pacquiao isn't merely retired, he's chaos distilled. And Davis? He's a strategist of destruction, still growing, still hungry. That's where Manny fits in. Pacquiao's most dangerous weapon wasn't just his lightning speed, it was the chaos he controlled. He came from odd angles, used half steps to reset fights, and made opponents miss before they realized they'd been shifted. Davis is methodical, a precise hunter waiting for mistakes. But Manny? He creates those mistakes before you know you made them. That contrast could sharpen Davis's offense into something devastating. Imagine Tank borrowing Manny's rhythm disruption, not just his footwork, but the chaos he choreographed. Throwing shots from places other fighters don't even glance at. And Pacquiao, too, could benefit, not in fitness, but connection. Manny's always been more than fists. He's a guide. A symbol. Working with Tank would let him pass down his blueprint in real time. Picture Manny watching Tank's vicious uppercuts, nodding knowingly, like a master still discovering new tricks in an old book. Then there's the mental edge. Pacquiao's discipline is the stuff of legend, no vices, no distractions in camp. Just family, faith, and focus. For Davis, who's had outside the ring turbulence, that vibe could be stabilizing. Less a student-teacher bond, more a quiet brotherhood formed through grit. Roach's aggressive style. Ford's timing-based approach. Blend the two, and you've got a style nearly impossible to read. Davis doesn't throw in volume, he hasn't needed to. But what if Manny showed him how? 5-punch flurries from unpredictable angles, not just to hit, but to disorient. That's a new kind of beast. One that doesn't wait to counter, but overwhelms from the jump. No long conversations needed. One nod. One combo. One shared look that says, "Now we see the fight the same." A single gym session could ripple across decades. Because it's not just that both are southpaws, it's how they southpaw. They move to a rhythm others don't hear. Southpaws don't just stand differently. They think differently. Put two of the best lefties of their time in the same gym, and you unlock something primal. Pacquiao didn't move around angles, he rewrote them. Hopping right, vanishing, reappearing with a jab you never saw coming. Davis doesn't bounce. He glides, hunting. Silent, until he's not. Yet both ignore boxing's rule book. They write their own. That left hand defines them. For Manny, it's a whip, a blade slicing mid-combo or flashing off a sidestep. For Davis, it's a hammer, explosive and final. But both disguise it perfectly. A jab. A feint. Then snap, it lands before you brace. If these two ever trained together, this would be the lesson exchanged, not punches, but ideology. How to find space in a phone booth. How to retreat without yielding ground. How to lean into the awkwardness of being unorthodox. Most fighters never even face a southpaw this dynamic, let alone train with one. Pacquiao overwhelms. Davis detonates. But they're bound by unpredictability. The opponent never knows what's real until the mat rushes up to meet their face.
That hurt Bradley, his leg lock.
We see Pacquiao line that jab up and throw a beautiful straight left hand down.
Something timeless gets exchanged, and no opponent prepares for that. Let's be real. Manny Pacquiao training Gervonta Davis? It was never probable. There was no substantiation, no photo, no insider leak. But boxing can't shake the question, could it happen? Maybe not in the grind of a full camp, but even a short shared session, a spontaneous meetup, or an open sparring clip would flip the sport on its head. Both fighters still operate actively in their own ways. Pacquiao isn't on a comeback run, but he's never really left the grind. He still trains, still drops mid-videos that remind everyone of the speed, the sharpness. And when asked about another fight, he smiles like a man who could say yes at any time. Meanwhile, Davis is gearing up for another war. Opponents tossed around include Pitbull Cruz, Shakur Stevenson, maybe Devin Haney. Whoever stands opposite him, Tank always seeks the edge. So what if their paths do cross? What if Pacquiao pops into a Vegas gym while Davis is hammering the bag? Or if Tank hits LA and logs a few light rounds at Wildcard just to shake loose? There's precedent. Manny's trained with younger prospects before, Filipino standouts, rising champs, even MMA fighters looking to learn the footwork gospel. He's generous with knowledge, but selective with time. Davis, despite the tough guy image, is sharp. He absorbs. He wants mastery, not just dominance. So even if the original story was just smoke, there's time to ignite it. Imagine the headlines, Tank trains with Pac-Man. Even a quick shadowboxing sequence caught on camera would break the internet. Not for hype. Not for legacy games. But for something rare in boxing, mutual growth. A student meeting a teacher, or perhaps two masters swapping notes. Pacquiao has nothing to prove, his name is etched in stone. But sharing what he knows? That's how his story stays alive. Roach once said Manny's real joy wasn't in winning, it was in teaching. That's why he still wears gloves at nearly 50. Not because he has to. Because it's who he is. So no, the door's not shut. Not yet. Boxing moves fast. One phone call. One handshake. One respectful glance across a gym could turn fantasy into fact. And if it does, it won't be spectacle, it'll be history. Because boxing isn't just about blows landed. It's about identity. The ring reflects everything, your mind, your hunger, your story. Strip away the noise, the media, the drama, the marketing, and you'll see it. Why Gervonta Davis and Manny Pacquiao, two men from different times, continents, and backstories, might just be the perfect pair to share a ring, because despite their age gap, despite their differences, they're built the same. Both compact. Both left-handed. Both fearless against bigger foes. And both escaped something. Tank, abandoned in Baltimore, raised by fighting. Manny, scraping by in General Santos, selling pastries to eat. They didn't just rise. They escaped. That kind of hunger? It knows itself.
Pacquiao's finest technique. Delivering powerful, sweeping, wide-arching left hook. Even the master of defensive prowess, Floyd Mayweather, did not escape from this devastating left hook.
Because in previous fights we've seen that he seems kind of awkward, but in this fight he's not looking.
But this goes deeper than grit. Their styles, at first glance, seem worlds apart, but on closer inspection, they overlap in ways that make them natural complements. Pacquiao overwhelms opponents with rapid angles and relentless pressure. Davis, on the other hand, destroys with timing and precision. Manny was like a swarm of bees, attacking from everywhere. Tank is a sniper, calm, focused, deadly. But imagine this, if Davis ever integrated just one of Pacquiao's signature entry angles into his arsenal, while keeping that signature patience? That's lethal. You'd have a fighter who can close distance in unpredictable bursts, then finish with surgical precision. And fighters like that? They're almost impossible to beat. What's more, defensively, both men share an often overlooked trait, adaptability. Watch Tank roll with punches in the pocket, resetting calmly under fire. It's eerily reminiscent of how Pacquiao used to pivot mid-combination, circling out before anyone could touch him. Neither man fights in a straight line. They're all about angles, deception, misdirection. And that's not just raw instinct, it's calculated strategy. A strategy that, if passed from one fighter to another, could become something even more dangerous. Their mentalities match, too. Despite fame, wealth, and public spotlight, both keep their circles tight. Manny stayed loyal to Freddie Roach for 2 decades. Tank, even as a global celebrity, remains grounded with Coach Calvin. It's about trust, loyalty, discipline. And neither man is flashy in the gym. No spectacle, no cameras, just sweat, repetition, silence. Quiet killers. That's what makes the idea of them training together not just believable, but powerful. If it ever happened, it wouldn't be a media circus, it would be private. Focused. Just 2 warriors from different eras, communicating in the universal language of gloves and grit. Sometimes, mentorship doesn't need words. It needs rhythm. Breathing. Shared space. A single second where greatness silently recognizes itself in someone else. That's why fans believed. Not because of headlines, but because deep down, these two are cut from the same cloth. The rumor of a Pacquiao's Davis link-up wasn't just viral, it was symbolic.
It's kind of awkward, and this buddy's not looking. There's a big left hand!
This rumor wasn't just about 2 southpaws. It was about something bigger, something boxing desperately needs. Connection. Between generations. Between eras. Between fighters brave enough to reach across time and share what they've earned. Because unlike other sports, boxing doesn't have a draft system. No farm leagues. No structured mentorship. You learn from who you're lucky enough to be around. So when fans imagine Tank Davis soaking up secrets from Pacquiao, absorbing movement patterns from one of the most elusive fighters of all time, it wasn't just thrilling. It felt right. Like a missing puzzle piece finally snapping into place. Because legends don't last forever. But knowledge can. The idea that a fighter like Pacquiao, who made his name throwing flurries no one could explain, might pass a sliver of that chaos to someone like Davis, who delivers knockouts with chilling precision. That's how greatness evolves. Not by holding on, but by handing down. This fantasy sparked something more than just social media buzz. It made fans imagine a sport not divided by ego, but united by legacy. A world where Mayweather mentors Shakur Stevenson. Where Andre Ward corners Devin Haney. Where instead of calling each other out for clout, legends and phenoms actually build together. Sure, it doesn't always work, too many contracts, too much pride. But when it does happen, it's magic. Think about it, when Bernard Hopkins pulled Jaron Ennis aside at a press event, you felt it. When Tyson Fury praised Lennox Lewis in front of the cameras, people listened. Because real respect in boxing is rare. And when it's genuine, it's powerful. The Pacquiao-Davis rumor? It wasn't true. No confirmation. No grainy footage of them taping hands side by side. No legendary myth sessions under the wild card lights. But the idea stayed with us, not because it did happen, but because it could have. That's the strange magic of boxing. Sometimes, the myth hits harder than the moment itself. And whether or not Tank ever threw a single jab with Manny, the impact was real. Because it wasn't about sparring, it was about transmission. Of wisdom. Of legacy. Of one fighter with lightning in his feet sharing space with another who carries thunder in his fists. Two distinctly different styles speaking the same, brutal, beautiful language. Let's be honest, Pacquiao doesn't need to train Tank Davis. His name is already carved in the stone of history. And Tank doesn't need Pacquiao to win. His highlight reel is terrifying on its own. But the real power here is in the what if. What if every generation looked backward and offered something forward? What if learning wasn't viewed as weakness, but as a strength? This wasn't about headlines. It was about a moment of curiosity, a spark that reminded fans just how interconnected the sport could be. Because boxers aren't islands. They're part of a flowing river, one that runs deep with rhythm, resilience, and respect. And when one generation chooses to reach back, even for a second, the whole current shifts. So no, the punch never landed. The mitts never clapped in the same gym. But the lesson? That landed clean. Because even after the gloves come off, the conversation keeps going. And maybe that's how legends are truly built, not just by what they do between the ropes, but by who they inspire outside of them.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more exciting videos, make sure to hit the bell icon and stay updated.